Hello, and thank you so much for serving on this Sunday, December 22nd. I'm going to briefly go over some general knowledge things that are in our lessons for each of the small groups before I move into the specific small group things. So we added this month where you're going to have your your cover page that will give you all of the general information about the entire morning, starting with the story that we're going to be covering in large group, which is Jesus is born. This is our fourth Sunday of Advent, which is love. And so they're going to focus on the story of Jesus' birth. Our monthly memory verse is here. The bright idea for this week is here. Every week we have a slight variation of the bright idea for the month. So the bright idea for the entire month of December is God is our rescuer. And so this week it's Jesus was born to rescue us. And then below that, it has the he, we, me questions that are set during the large group time. The first two are answered during large group, and the me is answered during small group. So every small group has this as their cover sheet. Behind that is a leader training page. And on here, these are tips and tricks that might not just be specific to this lesson, but can just be good teacher tips for any time that you are teaching. So there's leader tips that are on there, as well as the navigating a broken world. This might have more to do with this week's lesson, but it could really apply to any of them. One more thing that I'm going to go over before I go into specific small groups is that the last two parts for everyone are pretty much the same for both groups. So I'm just going to go over it now before I go into each group, and that way I won't have to say that part again. Is in the wrap up. You're going to answer the me question. You're going to choose your challenge. This is going to come from their take-home sheet, so they can pull out the take-home sheet to look at the ideas for the challenge for the week. And then praying and saying goodbye, those are the same. And then the discipleship discussion. This can be worked in throughout the lesson. So if you are feeling comfortable with what we're covering this week and you feel like you can discuss these things as they're doing other activities, that is a great way to work it in case if you run short on time. Or you can save it for the end as they're being dismissed. So discipleship discussion always looks at the story and says, what does this mean for followers of Jesus? But what about comparison? And so these are going to be the same in every small group, no matter what age group, what grade level you're teaching. So now specifically, I'm going to move into our kindergarten and first grade and second and third grade small group roadmap right now. So if you're teaching those two younger small groups, this part is for you. Following that, I will go into the fourth and fifth grade small group roadmap, and then I'll move into a large group after that. So feel free to just watch the part that applies to you. Or if you are interested in knowing what's going on with all the groups this week, then you are welcome to watch all of it. So our schedule is the same every week. 10 to 10:10 is when you're going to do your belong activity. So kids will be still arriving at 10. So one teacher should be continuing to take attendance while the other begins that activity. It needs to wrap up at 10:10 so that you can then walk down to the large group room and be seated before 10:15. That large group lesson is going to begin at exactly 10:15. They will start a 2-minute countdown timer at 10:13 so that it starts at 10:15. I know the timeline is tight, but it's so that we can get you guys back into your small groups after large group and just being really aware of making sure that our timing allows for that. So when you get back, it'll be about 10:50. And so that's when you're going to do your believe activity. Following that, you're going to do your become activity for 10 minutes, and then small group wrap up, and then discipleship discussions. I'm going to go through the belong, believe, and become because we already went over those other two. They are always color coded. They are always titled. And so you should be able to see them. When you flip the page, we have Jesus in the manger. I won't go over all the details on these because you can find them on the electronic copy on your Google Drive. You can access that from the email that Kristen will send you, or you can also go onto Planning Center and click the Drive link from there. On here, it says 1 manger per kid. We did 2 for the whole class. So they're going to have to take turns with doing this activity. So there is tape, there's printed mangers, there's the printed pieces that go with it. And so you can read through that activity. Then when they return from large group, they're going to do keep the beat, which they only need Bibles for. And then candy praises, which will have Skittles. I will have that here by Sunday. So they're going to go through these questions or these things that they're asking them to do using those different colors of Skittles. And that's it for kindergarten and first grade and second and third grade. Now I'm going to move on to our fourth and fifth grade lesson. Okay, so for our 4th and 5th graders, you have the same format as always. Kids will be arriving still at 10 o'clock, but you're going to begin your belong activity at that point. One teacher should continue taking attendance on the iPad while the other teacher begins teaching that activity. That needs to be wrapped up at 10:10 so that you can walk back to the large group classroom for that large group lesson. It will start at exactly 10:15, so you need to make sure that you leave in time to be seated and ready for that lesson in the large group classroom by then. After large group, you will move into your Believe activity at 10:50, followed by your Become activity at 11 o'clock, and then the 2 discussion areas that I already went over earlier in the video. You are welcome to take the kids upstairs if you would like. If you do, make sure you take any activity materials for the Believe and the Become with you upstairs, because you'll be doing those activities upstairs if you do choose to go upstairs. There is a yellow bag up here up top. It has the key to get in, as well as the materials, as well as a way to carry those materials upstairs with you. Take your lesson plans, take the iPad, take your walkie-talkie and your cell phones. So your first activity, I'm not going to go over these in detail because you can find the electronic copy on the Google Drive. You can access that from the email that Kristen sends you, or just straight from Planning Center. There's always a Drive link on there. So you're going to do this activity. It does require magazines and scissors and glue sticks. I put tape in instead, and paper. So all of that is right here. I won't show all of it to you, but it's right there in that belong bin. Then when you are done with large group, you're going to do Word Warriors, which only requires Bibles. Bibles can be found upstairs, so they should take theirs if they brought them this week, but if they don't have one, they can borrow one from upstairs. And then the last activity is Depictions in the Dark, and they just need paper and coloring supplies. Again, if they don't have this with them, that stuff is upstairs. Not if they have it with them. If you choose to go upstairs, it is already upstairs. You don't need to carry that with you. And then the last 2 things are the discussion activities at the end. And so I already went over those, so I'm not going to go over those again. But now we're going to move into what our large group is teaching this week. Okay, and we're going to end with what we're doing in large group this week. I will have the laptop slides listed out on this lesson once we have it set up for the week. It's not quite there yet, but by Sunday I'll have it and I can walk through it with the tech helper. So what we're going to do this week is start that countdown at 10:13, because at 10:15 we're going to begin. So the way that we've been setting this up the last several months is that one teacher teaches parts 1, 2, 4, and 5, and the other teacher teaches part 3, because that is the longest, meatiest part of it. And so that way you can kind of split up those responsibilities and have like a little bit of a breather between them as well. So the welcome, you're going to need diapers and a timer, as well as I put tape, because I added tape because I did not want the kids to actually open the diapers and tape them to themselves. It is a very silly activity. I'm going to go ahead and show it to you. It is right here. So basically they're having a contest where they have to put diapers on themselves. Talking about babies. These are my diapers from home. I would prefer to still be able to use them after this activity. So I put some tape on there. They need to somehow get these diapers to stick to themselves they can use a little bit of tape to keep it on themselves, but the diapers have to stay closed and on them in some format. I don't want them to open the diapers. I don't want them to do crazy things with it, but hopefully the diapers will still all be usable after this activity. Otherwise, it might be the most expensive activity we've ever done. And then following that is the intro video, which you're just going to show the video, and then you're going to set the he, we, me questions for this lesson. Following that, you're going to find it in the Bible, which will come up as a slide, but also draw their eyes to the banner that is over here above the bulletin board so they can understand where our story this week falls into God's big story. And you're going to talk about where it comes from, how it comes from the book of Luke, chapter 2, verses 1 through 20. I would highly encourage the kids to open their Bibles if they brought them, and that they can keep them open and read them while we're doing the lesson for this week, so that reading the Bible is just a really good thing for them to see each other doing. And so if they want to read it while the lesson is going on, I would highly encourage that. So following that, this is something new this week. So after this, I wrote this on the schedule part at the front. Let me open that back up. We are doing a lighting of the Advent candle. And so the same person who does find it in the Bible needs to then look at this. It's just right here, right next to it. I marked it right here. You're going to do this at the end of Find It in the Bible. You're just going to read this portion and you're going to light these candles. They are battery powered. So all you have to do is you click the on button and they turn on. So I would recommend turning the lights off during this part, so that way you can all pray together as we talk about our theme being love for this week. So following this, we will move into our other teacher who will be doing the Bible teaching. Bible teaching this week requires a large spool of ribbon, so it's not quite ribbon, but it's close enough. So they're going to use that, and you're going to follow the directions that are in here. I think it should go pretty well because you're involving the kids without them having to get up and move around. So hopefully that will help them to stick to their timing. Through here, you'll be reading different parts of Luke to them. It is directly here on the paper, but you can also open a Bible and read it from the Bible. And it goes all the way onto a third page where you point to Jesus at the end. And that is going to be on a slide. And so we end with prayer. And then we move on to the next part, which is the review. So this usually moves back to the first teacher again. If you are running short on time, you can pick between one or the other of showing the video or doing the interactive questions. But if you have enough time, I highly recommend doing both. The time is at the top. So as long as you know you're going to finish at about 10:43 with these questions and the review video, I really, really love both. The video is really well done. It's a good interactive thing for them to watch, to review what they just heard, but also the questions are just a great recall for them to be able to physically participate with as well. And then finally, we have our wrap up. This starts at 10:43. It wraps up at 10:48. You're going to go over the he and the we questions, the bright idea for this week. And then at this point, this is where we're going to dismiss our 4th and 5th graders. You're going to pray together, and then you're going to send those 4th and 5th graders out before doing the monthly memory verse. Especially if they're going upstairs, they're going to need some extra time to get upstairs. So we want to save them those 2 or 3 minutes that it's going to take to go over the memory verse and watch that verse video. So we dismiss our 4th and 5th graders, and as soon as they are lined up, then we go into the memory verse. They'll hear it as they're exiting, but that way they'll save a little bit of time. And then we show that verse video, and then that is it. Over here, I did buy some candy canes for the kids. Teachers, you can take those back to your small group. Do not pass them out till the end. This is our last time together as a group because on Christmas Eve services, we will not be meeting. So this is the last time we're together before Christmas. So they'll give them a little treat to take home to wish them a Merry Christmas with their families. And I thank you guys so much for serving. I will see you on Sunday. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out anytime. Hopefully you have my phone number. If you don't, you can find me on Planning Center. Just look at my name, give me a call, send me a text, or just ask me in person. I'm so thankful for each and every one of you and the connections that you're making with these kids and sharing Jesus with them. I can't wait to see you guys on Sunday. Thanks. Have a great week.